Well, that's another lovely plump roach, about 5 or 6 ounces. One thing you might notice is that when I'm striking low to the water, either to my left like that or to my right, because as I'm fishing so shallow, if I was to strike up, if I missed a bite, the float would go flying over my head. So you don't need to do a big wild strike, just a nice gentle strike to the left or right, whichever way. Sometimes when the wind's blowing, like this in the corner, I like to strike with the wind. Perhaps just helps you pick the line up that bit quicker. Another advantage of fishing a waggler shallow like this and catapulting bait out is that by catapulting the bait, you're going to spread it out more than if you were cupping it in with a pole, and it gives you the chance to have 2 bites of the cherry. So I just missed a bite then, but I'm back in the zone and unfortunately missed another bite, but it proves the point. I'm getting 2 bites at the cherry with each cast. Another good tactic when you're fishing the waggler like this shallow, and one that I use on the river as well, is to actually cast and not watch the float really, just strike, and it just worked perfectly then. Obviously the fish has intercepted the bait, and just by sort of randomly striking, oh, it's come off. Anyway, just by randomly striking, you can connect with the fish. So it's just worth mixing everything up, apart from obviously changing the depth that you're fishing and the presentation, how you're actually fishing the float amongst the feed, and how you're striking, and trying to find the most efficient way of catching them on the day. Well, I'm missing a few bites now, so I'm shallowing right up to perhaps just a foot in depth, and I've got no shot down the line. I have got some number 11 shot incorporated into the rig, which I was using to start with when I was fishing a bit deeper, but now because the fish are feeding so shallow, I've shallowed right up, and I just want to slow the bait down as much as I can to mimic the loose feed that we're firing out. That seems to have done the trick. It's actually a skimmer or a hybrid, and you perhaps wouldn't expect skimmers to be feeding so shallow, but they will come up in the water, like that one. Feeding really regular like this, little and often, will really encourage the fish to feed initially and then compete with each other, and that must be why they come up in the water, because they're trying to intercept the bait before the other fish in the shoal get to it. These fish now are right under the surface. It's another beautiful roach. Well, that feels like it might be another ride. It's definitely a better fish. So I explained I just hooked that by just striking to the left, keeping the rod low. And I'm also keeping the rod low while I'm playing it because they can really splash about on the top hide. I don't want them to spook the other fish. Yeah, it is a hide. I'm not even sure if that's an hide with crossed with a roach or a skimmer. It looks like some kind of hybrid anyway. Have a look what you think. I don't know. Well, I'm loose feeding casters, so I think I'll try a caster on the hook. Just see if that brings me a better stamp fish. The red maggot's getting absolutely hammered as soon as it hits the water. So I'll just try burying a caster, just see if that makes any difference. I do like using casters on mixed fisheries like this because I think it does give you a chance of attracting some bigger bonus fish. Well, that wind's getting up and it's really blowing towards me and towards the corner, and you might notice I'm using quite a powerful catapult. It's an old Super King frame, and I've got some fairly heavy latex elastic with the largest Drennan pouch, and it's the kind of catapult I use for nearly all my float fishing because it's got the power to get the loose feed out through the wind. And I also like the fact that the heavier elastic is very stiff, so that it's constantly presenting the pouch. It's not twisting up too much. In fact, it hardly twists up at all. When you use more delicate catapults with finer elastic, you find that they're constantly tangling up. So it's a very efficient way of feeding, especially when you're feeding very regularly like this. Feed wise, I've been feeding 10 to 20 casters, and I'm obviously feeding those very regularly every cast. I've also got some red maggots, which has been by far the best hook bait today, and obviously I've got the option of loose feeding maggots as well if need be. The rod I'm using is the 13-foot number 2, and it's a wonderfully versatile rod. So it's one that you can catch and play roach like that, no problem at all. But also, if I were to hook a bigger bonus fish, it's got a fantastic progressive action that will enable me to fight them really efficiently and easily. You need a rod with a softish tip and action when you're fishing shallow like this, because obviously you're striking quickly and you're putting a sudden amount of pressure on your terminal tackle. So The soft tip just helps you to absorb and cushion the strike. You can see the rod there now with this slightly better fish, just bending all through from the tip through into the middle, and it's just absorbing all the lunges of this fish. Looks like another skimmer. The reels I'm using today are our new CS7, and I'm using the 3000 version. They're absolutely beautiful reels, so smooth and powerful. They've got a 10 bearing system and an aluminium body, which makes